So, we got a fun little segment today.
Mm-hmm.
Braden and I have created a top 22 positions in the NFL in terms of importance. Now, the way we structured this was the NFL generally now it's a three wide receiver league.
Mm-hmm.
Base packages on offense are more often than not 11 personnel for a lot of teams, and defense you see a lot of base nickel packages. So, the way we structured this is like quarterback, the five offensive linemen, tight end, running back, three wide receivers, one of which is your slot receiver. On defense, two edge rushers, two interior defensive linemen, one of which is a pass rusher, one of which is a nose tackle, your two corners, your slot corner, your free safety, your strong safety, and then two off ball linebackers. So that's how we've got this. That's what we've got it set up today.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, yeah, let's get right into it.
I guess I was thinking of like if I was building a team myself,
Yes.
what's the order of the positions I'm going after to get the best I can?
And that's a great way of looking at it.
So that's how I did it.
Now, I wonder what our number one could be, right?
Are we gonna go like 1-1, 2-2?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think so.
Makes sense. That's what I figured.
Since you're the guest here, you go first.
Okay,
I wonder
I
what
get the
your number one
controversial
position-
first one.
You get the controversial first pick. You get to shock the world with this
I don't think we need to drag this one out, guys. The most important position that I would be going after would be
one. Nose tackle.
would
Yes,
be
sir.
quarterback, obviously, the one who touches the ball every single play.
Yeah, I don't even think we need to talk. We don't even need to elaborate on this one.
No.
You want to go and give us your number two?
Yeah, I bet I have a. I'm gonna guess that we have the same number two.
We might, and if not, we're gonna have like similar, like 2, 3, and
We'll
4.
have
I think.
we'll probably have very
We'll say the
similar
same.
tiers. I bet.
Yeah.
All right, my number two. In today's NFL, it's about offense. It's about scoring points. For number two, I went with my wide receiver one.
Okay.
Do we not agree?
I actually approached this a little differently.
Okay.
Now, I had a similar headspace to you.
Okay.
It's a passing league.
Mm-hmm.
It's a passing league. Now, we went with quarterback for number one. Got to protect your quarterback.
Makes
I went
sense.
Left tackle, number two.
Okay.
I went left tackle. However, it won't be too long before we get to that one for me as well. Trust me.
Yeah.
So, I'm with you in terms of that being in my like the way I went about this. Like my 2 through 5, if I'm being totally honest, could be ordered any which way, and I wouldn't really care all that much because I think to me 2 and 5 are like 2, 3, 4, and 5 are very like they're all in the same bunch.
I think my 2 through
Maybe
4
even 6.
is where my tier cuts out at.
Okay.
Well,
And-
yeah. I'll say that.
Okay. Now go ahead and give us your number 3.
So my number 3, it's a quarterback league, so someone has to get to them. I went with
Someone does have
Edge.
to get to them. My man.
Edge one, my top pass
man.
rusher.
I also went with Edge 1 as my third. Now I went with left tackle as my 2. Somebody's got to beat them left tackle, and it's the edge rusher.
Mm-hmm.
These guys get paid a shit ton of money for a reason. Pressures, sacks, whatever the case may be, affecting the quarterback in any way that you can. It is the most valuable part of any defense.
Setting the edge, they still play an important part against the run.
They sure do. They got to contain.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is, it's important. Like naturally. So yeah, number 3 for me as well. I know you're gonna hear no debate from me there.
All right. Number 4. I don't know where other people stand on this, but since I valued wide receiver that highly, I'm
Okay.
gonna value those who can attempt to stop those wide receivers. At number 4, I put my cornerback 1.
I like it. I'm almost there. I'm not quite there yet.
Mm.
But I'm curious as to hear where you have left tackle if you value edge so highly. But we'll see.
I will get to it. I
think I know where it is actually, but because you mentioned it to me earlier before.
and I have a reason that
You had
we'll
something
discuss.
outside of your top 5 that
we have
was
a-
a little controversial.
we have a
And I'll
philosophy
hear you out on it.
discussion.
I'll hear you out on it. Number 4 for me, I went with left tackle, and then I went with edge as the foil. Number 4, it's still a passing league. Got to take care of that. Your quarterback's got protection. Now he needs a weapon. Wide receiver 1, my fourth most important position in the NFL. If I'm building a team, I want a quarterback, I want the guy protecting him, and I want the guy catching passes.
Makes sense.
That's where I'm at. All right.
At number 5, You know, when we talk about these elite quarterbacks, like when we talk about Tom Brady, Drew Brees, anytime they discuss like what really gets them off their rhythm, it's pressure up the middle. I went with D tackle in the next slot.
The pass rushing D tackle.
Yeah.
Of course, right now the nose tackle. Okay.
Like I'm thinking Aaron Donald, Chris Jones. I mean, these have been the best defensive players the past couple of years.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with your assessment there. That's pocket pushing. Even if you don't close out, pushing the pocket up the middle really affects the quarterback's game. You're forcing them to move. You're possibly forcing them to see a little less. Because you've just got some giant ass man right in his face.
I might be pushing them out into my higher valued edge.
Right. Especially if you've already got another guy winning on the outside. If you're winning on the inside, it forces the quarterback to move closer to the guy who's winning outside. So if you've got a good edge and interior pass rusher tandem, very valuable. So I'm in agreement with you there. However, like I said, I picked edge as my foil to my left tackle. I just went with wide receiver for number 4. Got to foil the wide receiver. If you got to pay big bucks for the guy catching passes, you got to pay big bucks for the guy covering them. I got CB1 as my 5th most important position. But I'm in agreement with you there. I do think it's highly valuable, and it won't be too long before I get to that one as well.
All right. For my next one, in this offensive league, you can draw a lot of coverage to that wide receiver 1. And in modern NFLs, you need somebody else to help take pressure either off the wide receiver 1 or take advantage of the one-on-one that they're given due to the attention that wide receiver 1 is getting. I went with wide receiver 2 at 6.
I don't hate this. I don't hate this in the slightest. And, pardon me. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it is, especially with how many offenses in the NFL now revolve around timing. Like quick passing game, like you see it in Cincinnati, you're probably going to see it in Tennessee this upcoming season. Your protection doesn't necessarily need to be elite if you have multiple great wide receivers because they're going to get open quick.
Which is what I'm banking on.
I get your reasoning there, and like I see why. I think I know what's coming up at number 7 now. Yeah. I sure hope I know what's coming.
And I will elaborate a lot more when we get there.
Okay. My number 6, as I just said, like it won't be too long before we get to interior pass rusher. For me, defensive tackle is my number 6 as well.
Okay.
I think interior pressure, for guys that can truly affect the game, truly dominant interior pass rushers are not easy to find.
Nope.
And if you have an Aaron Donald, if you have a Chris Jones, if you have a Sexter Lawrence, Sexy Dexy, a Jeff Simmons, Quinnen Williams, if you have one of these guys that can like take over a game and just really affect the game up the middle, that is incredibly valuable for what that does for your pass rush, and helps out your secondary, makes everybody's job easier on the defense if you have a dominant interior pass rusher. So I'm in agreement with you there. I think it's very important, and really I don't see much separation between my number 2 and then now my number 6 here with the interior pass rusher. I don't see a huge gap. So,
right.
Yeah, I'm with you. So number 7, please, for the love of God, let it be left tackle.
My number 7 is left tackle.
Thank goodness.
Now the reason it slid so much compared to some of the others is because I view offensive line as a weakest link group. You still need a great left tackle.
Yes.
But it's more of like I will prioritize getting these high-end guys at these other positions, and then for the whole offensive line, like the rest of this offensive line is not too far behind left tackle in terms of this value. It's more of like I'll take a little bit less at what the top end of that offensive line is going to look like if I raise what the bottom end is going to look like and have a more cohesive unit. So left tackle slid a bit to 7.
I'm in agreement with you on offensive line being the weakest link position. However, the only hang up with left tackle is that that's your blind side for every quarterback in the league not named Tua Tagovailoa.
Well, Tua is actually my quarterback.
Oh well then right tackle should be of higher importance than left tackle.
But no.
And like for 31 teams in the league, this is the most important position on the offensive line. And even for Miami, they have Teron Armstead at left tackle. Like,
Side note, it surprised me when they spent that much money on him compared to other teams. I know they would still want a good left tackle, but I was like,
Yep.
you would think they'd be less desperate than other teams, and other teams would be more willing to spend big money.
Well, they also extended Austin Jackson at right tackle. They really liked Austin Jackson,
Yeah.
so they gave him a bag too. They just wanted both tackles to be shored up, which both tackles are. Important.
Which
It's
makes
hard to get
sense,
too
but
soon
just
enough.
it just shocked me that was the team.
So I will admit you have actually swayed me here a bit,
Mhm.
because I had wide receiver 2 a bit lower. Now
Uh-huh.
it was still top 10 for
Right.
me. And then even then, I think all 22 positions are important to a
Yes.
degree. Like,
Yeah.
there is no such thing as like a guy that you can lose and you just don't miss a beat. Like,
Yeah. This is the ultimate.
all
I think
matters.
this is the more of a team sport than any other professional sport.
Yeah, this though it's very all encompassing. But my number 7, you have swayed me. I have moved wide receiver 2 up the board.
Mm.
So, like, I kind of talked myself into it when I was talking about a lot of teams in the league being timing based rather than protection based in terms of this quick passing schemes, like get the ball out, give it to your playmakers in space. And I've even been thinking recently, like when we did our mock draft, I was like, oh yeah, Joe Alt, obvious, number 7, lock it in. I do not feel that way presently. Like, as I'm sitting here now, as I watch more of my league neighbors, as I watch more Roma Dunze, I am like talking myself into like possibly even wanting one of them more than Joe Alt. And mind you, my team already has Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins. But like having 3 reliable wide receivers without even having a left tackle is enticing to me because I know what offense Tennessee's running. And this is not meant to be a Titan segment, of course, but I'm thinking about it now, and I don't think it's fair for me to approach, team building for my own favorite team in a certain way, and then look at it in this lens and say, oh no, wide receiver 2 is actually not as important as I thought. No, it is, because I want my team to take a wide receiver at 7 potentially. Like I'd be happy with Joe Alt, Roma Dunze, or Malik Neighbors, but I am less sure now that I would like take Alt if all 3, which all 3 are not going to be available.
No.
Probably 2 of them are going to be gone, but.
There's a very real chance Alt's all that's left.
If the Chargers stick and pick, he's going there. More than likely. Even with them losing both receivers, like everything Jim Harbaugh says is like offensive line, offensive line, offensive line, offensive line. So we'll see. But yeah, wide receiver 2, number 7 for me. Like you got to have pass catchers. If you only have one guy, teams can scheme around him. Like obviously, dominant wide receiver ones are gonna win no matter what. But teams can still, there are means to shut them down. It's much harder to shut down multiple wide receivers.
Yeah.
So wide receiver 2 for me has moved up the board and is here at number 7. And I'm gonna adjust my board.
Okay. Well, while you do that, I'll talk about my number 8 here. So I talked about offensive line, and we're going back to back offensive line positions here. This one I feel like it gets kind of discredited and underrated in terms of teams valuing them. But at number 8, I went with the center.
I will kiss you. I will kiss you. I have center pretty high up as well. I'm sorry for. Spoiler. It's not going to be too far before I talk about center. Yes, great. Keep going.
The brain of the offensive line. I just talked about how important I value like pressure up the middle. How do you stop that? A good interior offensive lineman. And I understand that most of the time, or a lot of times, centers are part of double teams on whoever's coming up there. But
almost always,
yeah.
Very rarely are they on an island, but they're also communicating to the entire offense.
That brain that they need to have. The relationship they're going to have with the quarterback, which I put as number 1 most valuable, it's an important position for me.
Undervalued position. Like you often don't see teams taking them until round 3 and 4. I think if a center is like you rarely see centers go round 1. And in my opinion, if you are like if a center prospect is really that good, just take him in the first round. You will not regret it. Like,
agreed.
Did the Cowboys regret taking Travis Frederick?
No.
Do the Ravens regret taking Tyler Linderbaum?
No.
Like, if a team had taken Creed Humphrey round 1, would they have regretted it?
No.
Hell no. Because they're just
was Kelsey worth? Would he have been worth what he had done as a first round pick?
Absolutely, no question about it. And like if Graham Barton plays center when he gets drafted, like he's he's probably a back of the first round guy. If he ends up playing center, whoever drafts him is not going to regret that. If Jackson Powers Johnson goes round 1, I don't think the team that picks him is going to regret that either. I think he's a phenomenal center prospect. Like,
Yeah.
such an underrated position. And I get it, like, not every position is going to get the flowers they deserve, especially offensive line. But I think people they look too much at the fact that centers are almost never on an island. And they ignore the fact that you have to, one, be able to communicate, and two, have to be able to snap and then immediately get to your block. Right? It's not easy to play center. One of the toughest positions in the league, I would argue. It's not a fun job. It's a thankless job, evidently, because people don't see the value in center. So I'm very glad you put center as high as you did.
Yeah.
I am just a little lower on it than you are, but we'll get there soon.
But yeah, that's pretty much it.
That was your
8.
Number 8.
Yeah, so you're 8.
Okay. Center was 8 for me until I just jumped wide receiver 2 up.
Okay.
8 for me now is right tackle. I do still view both tackle spots as more important than the center, regardless of what your quarterback's blind side is, because that edge pressure is so important to contain. There are too many teams in the league that are 2, 3, even 4 deep at edge, and like you said, offensive line is a weakest link position, and there are too many teams now that like to move their edges. Like TJ Watt plays both sides.
Yeah.
Micah Parsons plays both sides. There are too many teams that like to move their edge rushers around.
Well, just in terms of weakest link talk, like Micah will attack anywhere on the offensive line.
Right. So if you've got one shutdown pass protecting tackle, they're just going to move their best edge to the other side and let him go to work on your other tackle if he stinks. Like,
yep.
Okay, I'm so glad you have an elite left tackle. TJ Watt's going to beat up like whatever garbage you got at right tackle. Like it doesn't matter. Like they're going to get moved around. That's just how it works.
Yep.
And you have to have both tackle spots filled. Your number 9, sir.
My number 9. Talked about the value of wide receiver 2. That's going to translate into a high value of cornerback 2. That's where I got at number 9, CB2. I mean, it just I don't know how I go on a spiel here without sounding redundant when talking about how valuable multiple wide receivers are on the field. That's going to translate to, well, it'll just be easier to cover him if we were able to have a good player on him. Maybe we have to double elsewhere, but having a good CB2, I mean, it allows you more freedom to move around, like where you need to send a double team to, how you can play the run, if you trust your cornerbacks going one-on-one. But yeah, CB2 sitting at 9.
Number 9 for me. I will not spend much time on it because I just sucked the dick of this position about 2 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be center.
Yep.
Like we said, communication, interior pressure, all the above. Way too important. Love it. Love centers. Shout out centers. Shout out Lloyd Cushenberry, Big Cush. Cannot wait to watch him block for Will Levis this year.
Yeah.
Your number 10.
Well, my number 10 was your number 9. I got right tackle at 10. I do value the edge being set with the offensive line like you did. The brain of the center is what made it be the offensive line I went with over.
I totally get that.
But
I don't.
We ultimately agree on where the strong points of the offensive line need to be. I mean, obviously you want every single spot to be strong, but
ideally all 5 of them are all pros.
That would be amazing.
If you're the 2022 Philadelphia Eagles, that's kind of what.
Was that 2016 Cowboys?
Oh yeah, that team as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even just present day Cowboys. Like.
Well, we'll see. We'll have to see. We got some questions.
We'll see. I do think it's going to be offensive lineman round 1 for Dallas.
I think it'll be 2. Don't know. It could be interior if certain guys like if Jackson Power Johnson's sitting there, I wouldn't hate snagging him. But we'll see.
I think Graham Barton would be great because he's got. I think he's an interior guy. I don't think he's a tackle, but theoretically he has 5 position versatility. So if you're Dallas, you just slap your line together at whatever order during training camp, see what works best for you.
I mean, I'll trust whoever we take because like drafting, I trust the Cowboys, especially in the first round, especially drafting that like in that position group. But anyways, right tackle for my 10.
My phone didn't shut off. Number 10. This is my first, like, maybe a little controversial selection here.
Okay.
Having this one in my top 10. It's a position I actually think is more important than a true CB2, and that is the
Okay.
nickel.
Yeah.
And the way I look at this is how many. First of all, they have a much greater job in run defense than your CB1 or your CB2. They are very important in run defense. Your nickel has to be able to tackle. You want your corners to be able to tackle. It's still it's part of the job. Your nickel has to tackle. It's not an option. Not only that, how many great wide receiver ones in the league do we see play like 40% of their snaps in the slot? CeeDee Lamb makes a lot of money in the slot.
Yep.
Justin Jefferson plays in the slot a lot. Tyreek Hill plays in the slot a lot. You have to have good slot corners in this league because there are too many elite wide receiver ones, top 5 wide receivers that play too much in the slot. You have to have great slot corner play in the NFL. It's not optional. If you want your defense to be elite, you have to have an elite nickel. And ideally, you have to be too deep at nickel. You have to have a backup nickel you can trust to, like, at least fill in, because there's a lot of responsibility involved. And not to mention, if your nickel can blitz, that's a whole separate conversation. If you have a nickel who can get to the quarterback, depending on that's very scheme dependent. And really, in general, a lot of these positions are scheme dependent. Some defenses are going to value nickel more than others. I personally, in the defense, I would want to run as a coach. Nickel would be very important, and that's why it cracked into my top 10 here.
All right. 11. This is the final of the top half.
Mm-hmm.
I went with edge 2, like the other side, whichever, But I think if I was also to include the first, like what I would value as the next backup after these first 22, like which third guy, it would be edge. I like cycling them in, keeping them fresh.
Yeah.
But number 11, I'm going to go with edge 2. I need both edges set against the run. And then just getting to the quarterback. Like, the quarterback should not have any side he feels comfortable in. I need havoc being wrecked both ways. So I'm going to put edge 2 at 11.
We're going to spend approximately 0 seconds here because I also have edge 2 at number 11.
Wow, what a beauty.
Yep, and I'm with you in terms of edge 3 being like the most valuable, like that and swing tackle, of course, naturally.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Edge 3 is important. Swing tackle should be important. So, yeah, I'm with you there. Move on.
So then that would be my 12.
Number 12.
I'm going with tight end. I'm thinking if this has to be one who can block, I need a tight end who can block and can play in the middle. If you control the middle of the field, have a nice big safety net for the quarterback, I think that can be pretty valuable. I mean, we're seeing more and more tight ends come in and just be good right away, and we're seeing the effect that can have on an offense. Am I being swayed by how good Kelsey is, how good Kittle is, how good Sam Laporta is, how good Mark Andrews is? I mean, I'm naming guys. These are some studs, but I don't know. I just think
T.J. Hockenson as well.
T.J. Hockenson, can't believe I forgot my fantasy savior most years.
Kyle Pitts, if you can call him a tight end, and if he can stay on the field, and if he gets targets, quite a lot of stipulations.
Jake Ferguson.
Yep.
Anyways,
Okonkwo this year.
The versatility of the position is going to put it at 12 for me.
I think that's fair. I'm probably a little lower on this in general, and I did not like where I have tight end. We'll talk about more when I get to it. This one I think is almost more scheme dependent than really almost all of them.
Agreed.
That, and also there's really only 5, maybe 6 like truly game breaking tight ends in the league, and even then a lot of them have a hard time staying healthy. So it's a big question of how important really is this. However, in terms of you wanting a security blanket for your quarterback at your 12th spot, I actually have slot wide receiver at number 12. So I'm with you. I think security blankets are important. I think controlling the middle of the field is important.
Yeah.
Slot wide receivers are going to attack the middle of the field, mostly short and intermediate. And quarterbacks, gotta look for them a lot because it's a secure spot, open hole in the zone, or quick release off the line, beat his man, whatever the case may be. It's good to have. It's good to have, especially with how many good nickels there are in the league now. Get you a guy that can win. So, yeah, to me, I think nickels or slot wide receiver quite important. I'm going to go with
Okay.
that at number 12.
My 13. It really could be either of them, but I just put left guard.
I went 13 and 14. I went left guard and right guard. Do you want to just do that?
Yeah, because that's also what I also have him
Okay.
going 13, 14.
Okay. 13, 14. I also have left guard, right guard. So
Yeah.
we actually have quite a bit here running pretty similarly.
Yeah, there's just little differences, but yeah.
Gotta fill the offensive line spots.
Yeah, I didn't want any offensive line position to be too low because then it just feels like there's somewhere you can exploit on the offensive line, which I would never want.
It's the weakest link at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And if you have a weak link, good defensive coordinator will find a way to exploit it.
Yeah,
So
and then we talked about how good pressure up the middle can do a defense. So got to get that middle of your offensive line solidified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My 15 and 16 are also interchangeable.
Mine aren't.
Okay. Give me your 15 then.
15, I went with the other D tackle slot.
Okay.
Just I need a big boy up there helping stuff the run.
Yeah. I'm a good bit lower on that than you are, but I understand.
Yeah. I mean, I was just thinking about how I value some of the other positions that are normally like for the run, and I value them a little bit lower, so it kind of boosted that one's value up to help against the run.
15 for me. If I had to pick one of these two, I'm going to go with free safety.
Okay.
It's generally a little bit more coverage responsibility, and it is still a passing league. So if I had to pick one of these to be more important, and a lot of defenses, the two are interchangeable. You just have two safeties that you kind of mix around a lot. You see that a lot in like the Fangio scheme and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Like any team with like too high safety, a lot of times they are interchangeable. They both do similar things. That's how a lot of DCs like it. And but for me, if you're going with traditional responsibilities, I think free safety is a tad bit more important, just because of the coverage responsibility involved.
Agree, because my 16 is free safety. Okay. I'm just thinking of a guy flying around, a nice little ball hawk.
Yeah. A little Kevin Byard.
Yeah.
A little Justin Simmons, Jesse Bates. Yeah. My 16 is strong safety.
Okay.
Because, like I said, there are a lot of teams that do view these positions the same, or at the very least very similarly. And a lot of teams, they share similar responsibilities. And in general, like even traditionally, like strong safety is still a very valuable position. You have to have a guy that can come down and run support. Have to have a guy that can make some hits, secure tackler. So strong safety for me, still a very, very valuable position. And in general, a lot of the better defenses in the league typically do have good safety play. Granted, best teams in the league just have good play everywhere. But like we said, all positions are valuable. It's just tough to rank them. But yeah, I think if you're gonna have free safety at 15, I think strong safety at 16 for me follows pretty naturally.
Yeah. So then my 17, I went with linebacker.
Okay. LB1 more specifically.
Yeah, LB1 is what I got listed as here. That middle level guy. If he could cover, that would be beautiful. But I'm just thinking running around, keeping everything in front, helping with the run, filling in gaps where needed. Just being a menace.
Yep. We do have a sleeping Bowie on the cam here. So
do a quick linebacker drill on him.
Yeah. Well, let's run some Oklahoma drills, buddy. He woke up. You don't want it. You don't want it.
No, I think he wants it, bro. That's why he woke up.
Also, the communication aspect of your linebacker.
Yeah.
They're usually, more often than not, that's your guy wearing the green dot. Occasionally, you'll see like a safety wearing the green dot. It's very rare. Usually, it is your LB1 wearing it. And, but in terms of like, that really is the only truly important component of the position. Everything else is something you can get somewhere else. And it sucks to say that because, like, truly great linebackers will absolutely affect the game. We saw the Super Bowl when Dre Greenlaw went down, made a huge difference for San Francisco's defense.
Mm.
And again, that's any great player at any position. If they get hurt, it's going to cause problems. There is no replacing an elite starter anywhere. But yeah, what are we at now? Number 17?
Yes, 17.
My number 17, I finally have CB2.
Mm.
CB2, is
Took a minute.
you know the reason it took me a little bit is because if you have an elite like shutdown number one corner and you have an elite nickel, you can kind of scheme defensively a little bit to like scheme your coverages a bit more to take away a second option rather than necessarily have to rely on a dominant CB2 to cover a dominant wide receiver two. It's the wide receiver one is your biggest focus, and then shutting down the middle of the field should be focus number two. And then you can almost live sometimes with the wide receiver two doing a little bit of work on you because your priorities are already taken care of. So now that I don't value CB2, but in terms of like would I rather have Roger McCreary go down for the season or Chido Awuzie go down for the season, I'd gun to my head, I'd rather Chido Awuzie go down for the season because I want to cover the middle of the field. And I know L'Jarius Sneed is plenty good enough to shut down whoever the wide receiver one is. So it's what's great about your team having three great corners. You can look at it that way. But anywho,
yeah, Cowboys had that last year until Diggs went down, and I think it was noticeable because he went down and then Van Der Esch went down too, which that sucks. He retired now.
Number 18, sir. Where we at?
So I went with maybe the position that has felt a decrease in value unlike any other.
Oh, boy.
I went with the running back at 18.
Here we are.
I'm thinking of a guy who can not only run, but can get out there a little bit and catch a couple passes. As much as I love a workhorse, in today's NFL, I'd be going running back by committee.
Yeah.
Which, because I'm big into fantasy, so I need there to be workhorses in the NFL to make it easy to pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to go with by committee. So it's just, I'm thinking only one on the field. Like by committee, you're not having two out there, so they're swapping in and out. Unlike
sometimes you do, but
sometimes,
yeah, rarely.
But it's not like wide receiver 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
So running back, its value, its contract value has dropped down. Relative to other positions, dropped down, and then here on this chart here, it now sits at 18. Imagine releasing this in like the 90s.
Goodness gracious.
What the fuck? Running back 18.
I mean, it's sad, but like if you look at elite running backs, who actually feels it when one goes down? Like San Francisco would be the only, and even then, Kyle Shanahan's got some of the best run schemes in the league.
Yeah.
So it's not like they'd be in a disastrous, but like Elijah Mitchell, assuming he's healthy, which he almost never is still a great player. So like, even if CMC goes down, they're not like dead in the water. Now it would be huge. I think like again that'd be the most felt loss. But like Nick Chubb went down for the season, and Cleveland had a great year. They had Joe Flacco tossing bombs and went like 5-1 with him or 4-1 with him as the starter to finish the year. And when Derrick Henry went down a couple of years ago, missed more than half the season. Tennessee finishes the number 1 seed, right? Like as great as these elite running backs, and Henry was going to go for 2,000 yards again that year. He was going to be the first running back to do it 2 years in a row. Like that was going to be a monstrous season. Like book it. That is a surefire Hall of Fame status doing that 2 years in a row. And he went down, and Tennessee finishes the one. Now we all know what happened in the postseason. All right, but hey, Brian Callahan has more playoff wins in Nissan Stadium than Mike Vrabel does. So shout out Brian Callahan. Yeah, I'm with you. It's
random
sad.
ass Vrabel slander.
Gotta get it in where I can, man. It's sad to see because good running backs are so fun to watch, and it really does feel like at times they can make a difference. And it's only when you don't have them that you realize, for most teams, they just don't. When Saquon went down a couple years ago, the Giants definitely felt that. And like San Francisco would feel it if CMC went down.
And the Cowboys were Zekeless for those 6 games.
Yeah, like it can be noticeable, but generally speaking, next man up. As long as your offensive line can block, as long as your coach can scheme up good run plays, you can live without it. So, 18 for me. I've got tight end, and this one it's a little lower for me because there are just so few that really make a difference in the league, and even then, it's such a scheme dependent position. I mean, every position is, but there are a few teams in the league that really treat the tight end like Kansas City does, or like San Francisco does, or like Baltimore does, or Detroit, or Minnesota.
Although you were naming like a lot of the top teams in the league.
And that's fair.
I think okay. Three out of the three of them you just said were three of the final four.
Yeah, and I don't disagree. Well, actually, all four of the AFC Championship teams had elite tight ends, or all four of the Conference Championship teams had elite tight ends. It was Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, George Kittle, and Sam Laporta. Well, I don't personally know if I'd call Laporta an elite tight end. That's not slander. I like Sam Laporta. I think he's a very scheme-dependent tight end. I think if Ben Johnson had taken a head coaching job this year, there would be a lot of Sam Laporta fantasy owners that'd be very disappointed next year. Personally, that's what. Not that he'd be useless, but he would not get the production he had this year. I think Ben Johnson is doing a lot of work to hide some of Laporta's deficiencies, and he's making the most of what Laporta's good at.
He ain't got no deficiencies.
Blocking. He can't do that very well. Catching the ball sometimes, not his strong suit. But
the two things that a tight end does. You just called him trash, essentially.
No.
I'm reading between the lines here.
In terms of the draft community, a lot of people hated Laporta coming out. I liked Laporta well enough, and Detroit was obviously a great destination for him, and I still like Laporta a lot. But he's not he's in terms of production, yeah, he's fantastic. But is he in the same caliber of player as Andrews, Hockenson, Kelce, and Kittle? No, definitely not. He's not those players.
He's in that. He's top of the next tier, though.
He's in the next tier.
Top of the next tier.
Sure. Granted, but who's his competition? Because again, really after the top
Mark
five,
Andrews backup. Likely.
I guess Charlie Kolar, Isaiah Likely, I don't know,
Jake Ferguson.
Who is Jake Ferguson.
Dalton Schultz.
Schultz is not good. Schultz is fine. Schultz isn't good. How many great tight ends are there in the NFL? There's 6. Let's be real.
Sam Laporta is one of them.
For the most part, yeah. I know. I'm including Laporta in the 6 in terms of tight ends that make an impact. There's 6 guys generally that game to game will make a serious impact. It's not that important in the sense that most teams could lose their tight end and not lose a single minute of sleep. They'd be fine. Vast majority of offenses in the league would be.
Dude, if I tore my ACL and then I heard coach isn't missing a minute of sleep, I'm like, okay, I don't want to hear that.
Well, again, we're down to the weeds here. We're at number 18. It just is what it is. I love tight end. I love great tight ends. I love decent tight ends. Jig Okonkwo is awesome. I love Jig. I love role-specific tight ends. I love tight ends that just do a little something nice, right? Which is most of them, if we're being honest. A lot of teams run a lot of 12 personnel. A lot of teams, use their tight ends differently. A lot of teams tight end is almost like running back, where some teams do it by committee, because it's just unless there's very few tight ends in the league that can do it all. Some teams want a guy who's a more vertical wide tight end. Some teams want another guy who's like an H-back. Some teams want another guy who's a block. You have to be 3 deep at tight end because it's such a role-specific, scheme-specific position. Things. I'm going way too long on the tight end here. It's my 18th.
Anyways, he hates the tight end. My number 19 is wide receiver 3. Mm-hmm. Just probably the biggest gap in between pairs of positions between wide receiver 2, which I had at 6, and then wide receiver 3 is all the way at 19. Part of that is because of where I valued the tight end as a receiving threat, so it pushed it down. Wide receiver 1 and 2, obviously. So wide receiver 3, I just need the occasional play from you. Can you give me one play a game? And I think that's all I'm really asking from him, because I have running back ahead of him. So what I get from the run game, and then what receiving threat that the running back could be, tight end, wide receiver 1 and 2. Wide receiver 3, just make a play. One play a game. That's all I need from you.
My number 19, running back. So, we talked about it a lot already. I'm not going to go too much into this. Personally, I do prefer committees. It just makes more sense in today's NFL. Rather than paying one guy who's good at everything. Unfortunately, and it sucks because ideally, if you're really good at everything, you do deserve a higher contract. That should be how it works, and it sucks that isn't necessarily how it goes. But the end of the day, it's just more viable for teams to just have two guys they aren't paying a whole lot, or even three guys that all either do different things or have similar skill sets, but are at least a little bit, different. Like they don't want completely interchangeable guys necessarily, unless you do have two do-it-all guys. But at that point, not much need. It's just like running production can be schemed. You see it every year. The guy goes down, and like even when CMC went down for the Panthers a few years ago, and then Mike Davis was just awesome. I mean, he stunk the next year in Atlanta, but was like one of the best like backup running backs. Like you saw Deontay Foreman and Dontrell Hilliard put up great numbers in Tennessee when Derrick Henry went down. Like you can live without him. Even the great running backs, you can almost always live without him. So yeah, 19.
So then my 20 is CB3.
About damn time. Disrespectful.
I guess because of how I value the tight end, I'm just gonna view a corner on him as almost a mismatch. But that's only again, like you said, that's only the case really for like 6 guys. But I don't know. I just think with the other corners, the defense, the pass rush playing its part, I think it just pushed this position down all the way to here.
Fair enough. 20 for me. I got LB1. I know it took me a while. But like I said before, other than communicating, which is important, obviously, every position in the league is important. Other than communication, there's just not a whole lot of importance to the linebacker position. Everything else a linebacker does, you can reliably replace elsewhere. If your D line's good enough, you don't necessarily have to worry about stopping the run because somebody's going to win up front. And even if they don't, they're eating enough space to where whatever linebacker you do have, generally speaking, those guys can tackle. Like even replacement level linebackers can tackle. That is like their primary function, at least some of them. So like Kiko Alonso led the league in tackles, or at least was close a few years ago, and nobody thought he was an all-pro caliber player, right? Like got enough guys up front that are doing their job. You can have a replacement level starter at linebacker. Not that you want one, but you can live with it. Like if that's your weakest link on defense is your off-ball linebackers, if you're a defense coordinator, you're not losing a ton of sleep over it. So, yeah, linebacker 1, number 20.
All right, so my 21, I went with strong safety.
Okay.
I'm just because I'm thinking I'm relying on everything that's more up front to stop the run, and then I'm just relying on everybody else in coverage more so than them to help defend the pass. So it just kind of leads them as this odd man out. Still would want a good one, obviously, which, I mean, needless to say, we pretty much have said that for all these lower-ranked positions. You want a good one, but in terms of value, they get the short end of the stick here, pushed down.
Some positions you can live without. And, depending on what defense you're running, you don't need an elite safety duo. If you're running a lot of single high, you just want that rangy free safety.
Yep.
Like a lot more than you want the strong safety, come down in the box and hit a guy.
Yeah.
If you're running single high coverage in particular, which a good chunk of the league does often.
Yeah, because to me, if this strong safety is making an impact play, it means somebody else fucked up.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So, they're just pushed down to 21 here.
21 for me is nose tackle. I love space eaters. However, it's such an easily replaceable position, as sad as that is. Now, obviously elite nose tackles like Snacks a few years ago, those guys get paid a lot.
I think I'm coming from the Cowboy fan perspective where we've had bad nose tackles where I'm like, I see the impact of when you don't have one and you're not able to stop the run effectively because of it.
Fair enough.
So it's just a more bitter taste in my mouth.
Well, I've seen the Titans sign an undrafted free agent nose tackle pretty much every year in the Vrabel John Robinson era, and then they always turned out to be pretty good players. And
the Titans are known for being able to spot talent, so that's not surprising.
Yeah, clearly. Such as Isaiah Wilson.
I mean, you guys drafted AJ Brown.
Didn't keep him for very long, but we sure did.
Well, you guys traded him?
See, that's news to me.
I assumed he walked.
All right, what's your number 22?
My final one that just leaves linebacker 2.
We don't have to spend any time on this. My linebacker 2 is also my final spot thing. Both
Yeah.
agree it's a very replaceable position, especially if your LB1 is pretty good. You definitely don't need a good second linebacker necessarily.
Let's just run 1 linebacker. Let's throw out 4 cornerbacks.
Yeah, let's just live and dime personnel. Fuck it.
Fuck it. Everybody when you're 1-on-1.
Mm-hmm. No man wins.
And all the linebacker doing is spying the quarterback.
Yeah. Too many mobile QBs in the league now. You gotta have just put a spy on them, run a dime package. Wait, that's just prevent defense, basically.
Yeah.
Whatever. Live in it.
Those are our football position value rankings. You tell us what you guys agreed with most and what you disagreed with most.
Tell me why my ranking is better than Braden's in the comments down below.
And let me know why I'm such a fucking idiot for having left tackle low, which I bet would be the number one
it's
complaint.
not even that low. You have it 7th. Like, it's not ridiculous.
No, but I can hear it. I had wide receiver 2 and a D tackle above it. I bet that's where people would be mad.
I don't think having interior pass rush above left tackles. I don't even think wide receiver 2 is egregious. I definitely wouldn't agree with it, but I think I understand.
So, see, but you're being level-headed.
Okay, yeah.
This is going out to
I'm
the
not a
internet.
YouTube commenter. I'm a guy talking to you face to face, and I'm a good friend of yours. So,
Yeah.
all right, fair enough.
Yeah, those are the positions, guys.